Why do you think that data quality is so important for businesses today?
Data quality is super important because the end users, they are not gonna use the data if they do not trust the data. But to trust the data, it has to be of a good quality.
If someone wants to improve the quality of data, what should be the steps that person should take in order to do this?
The best thing that I would do is some monitoring to understand the quality of the data. Because if you start cleaning, you have to understand what you want to clean.
Welcome to the Executive Outlook. Today, we speak with Ana Tralle, founder and CEO of ANATEQS, and one of the top 1% global experts in data and AI. Anna will gonna share her journey, the importance of data quality, and how AI is reshaping businesses today. Welcome, Anna.
Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction, Isha.
All right. So I want to hear from you that how you started your journey in this field.
Yeah, so the journey has started long time ago. It was around 10 years ago. I remember the good old times when Power BI, it was just appearing on the market and people were just starting to talk about the data visualization, what it is, how to use it. And that time I started to gradually dig deeper into the topic. And in one point in time, I started to be able to work with the data like with the closed eyes, Later on, I joined Accenture. I became the innovation lead, the data and analytics manager. Then I had some more roles, and then I decided that it's time to open the company, and that's how ANATEQS has appeared. So the company with a beautiful mission to unleash the potential of both people and businesses.
Very excited to know about that. So, you have worked with many Fortune 500 companies and startups as well, right? So, what is one lesson that you applies to every business when it comes to data?
Yeah, there are many lessons actually. To be honest, it's quite challenging to choose one, but my favorite one would be that you have to use data because everyone has data nowadays, but not everyone is using it. By using it, I mean that it's not enough just to look at the data, but you have to be sure that the data is also of a good quality because to be able to use something, you have to trust it. But to be able to trust it, you have to know that it's of a good quality. So this is the challenge that I saw quite often happening in the businesses, that they are having data, but they were not using it. So number one lesson, go to the roots of the problem. If you see that your decisions are based on your gut feeling, then something is wrong. Please don't focus only on that one. It's needed, but not always. Sometimes when you look at the data, you see the big roots of the problem, and it really helps you to move faster like with your business. So make sure that the data quality is of a good level.
So, I know I asked one, but you mentioned you have many. So, I want to hear it from you, which you see that is common among every organization.
I'd say that usually the problem is more like on the end side of the data. Of course, like I have seen plenty of data. For example, when businesses, they don't have some good processes established to the data. For example, you need to create a data warehouse, you need to build some ETL processes, but what you see instead, you see plenty of data discrepancies. You see that every department like marketing, sales, HR, like each of them is having their own system with the data. And when they check the data, then they do not match. So in these cases, the number one thing is to take a look at your data architecture and to understand like what's happening, why the data doesn't match, and because it affects the overall business, right? Like if different departments see different data, this means that they're not talking on the same language. So to remove this barrier, firstly, you have to build like a good, let's say, data architecture for the business. But usually what I saw is that, of course, like when we have smaller businesses, it's way easier because you don't have that much of the data. But when you are like a huge corporation in the world that has almost every country in the world, so the amounts are different, and the amount of the systems involved is also different. So in that case, you have to make sure that you find the best strategy for yourself, the best data architecture for yourself that it's gonna fit your needs.
Why do you think that data quality is so important for businesses today?
Yeah, as I mentioned, data quality is super important because the end users, they are not gonna use the data if they do not trust the data. But to trust the data, it has to be of a good quality. It has to be clean. You must make sure that, for example, if a person is looking at the data and he assumes that it's the data of today, yeah, the data is really of today. Or, for example, I have had so many cases when people were having so much data, but they were not using it because they were saying that, I know that's not right data. It's not showing the real numbers. And then when you dig deeper, you understand that, yeah, the data is not clean. You have to clean it up. You have to make sure that it's really accurate. We know like the basic principles of working with the data, and we know how important it is for the business, because if your data is not of a good quality, you shouldn't work with that data. But I have been also at one summit, like World Data Summit, and there was the question, how many businesses actually think that their data is accurate, is clean, and is of a good quality? And Isha, can you guess how many people have raised their hands that yes, they think so?
Around 5 or 6?
Actually, no one. And I was actually very happy about that. You know why? Because I don't know a single business, like in my entire experience, that would have had 100% right data. There is no such business, because quite many things we still do not take into account because we have so much data. It's not only like numbers, it's not only text. We have also photos, we have also videos, we have a lot of things which not all the businesses are using. And for example, even if they base their business decisions on some key numbers, let's say you don't take into account some, let's say, sentiment analysis. So you make your decision based on the numbers, but not on the analysis based on that numbers. So again, this I find this as a missing data.
So if someone wants to improve the quality of data, so what should be the steps that person should take in order to do that?
If a business wants to clean the data, first of all, the business should have a good documentation. The business should know what kind of data it has in which systems. So first of all, you have, let's say, an architecture of the data. Yeah, so you start with a big picture. Based on that, the best thing that I would do is some monitoring to understand the quality of the data. Yeah, because if you start cleaning, you have to understand what you want to clean. Yeah, so you can start some monitoring. You can check how much of the data you actually get as a clean one, how much of the data is maybe even missing sometimes. For example, data was not loaded. And maybe you can also talk to the main stakeholders and you can check with them, is the data full? Like, are all the data points actually in the database? And based on that already, you can understand like the big picture, and then you can prioritize processes. For example, what you want to start like the cleaning with, like what brings you the most value to the business.
Okay. So if you start monitoring it, you get the understanding where the data is not right. And that is the mentor's movement, I would say, because once you know the problem, then you have to take a step in order to solve it. And if you don't know the problem, then it is difficult to solve it, right? So monitoring, the step number 2 after documentation, is really. So can you share some real examples where you have fixed the data quality issues and that has really impacted the business success?
So business that I was working for during the Christmas time, like they were sending huge packages to the people, and most probably those have been some presents to the loved ones. And it was very important to make sure that those packages arrive on time. So if you have ordered these like in a random day, that's not that important. But for Christmas time, everyone expects that it's gonna be delivered before the Christmas. And what happened? You cannot be sure like what's gonna happen with the shipping, because all the businesses are sending millions of packages, and what happened is that we actually decided that it's important to build a system that is gonna track those shipping parcels. And once we did that, we actually saved so much money and so much customers stayed loyal, because we could track and see which parcels actually have been late to the customers. We could get in touch with a shipping delivery company, do something with that, or we could find like a plan B or C, like what we can do with that client. So in fact, it saved like a lot of money. Like, I'm not able to share the numbers, but the numbers were like really huge, because it's like a seasonal business, and at Christmas time, it's the peak of the numbers.
So they can plan accordingly that what they need in order to meet that demand. So if shipping on the Christmas season requires this much effort, so they will have extra efforts, right? Capacity in terms of every single area in order to make it happen. So you have done the visibility to the business so that they can track, and from there they can make the decisions.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Exactly, because if you do not have the data and reliable data, which is important to base your decisions on, then you are like without hands, you cannot do much.
Next question is in line with what we discussed right now. So many businesses don't know the cost of bad data, right? So how measure and create the impact? So I know in the previous question you mentioned that monitoring is important. So that will be the number one, setting up the monitoring processes, that is measuring the systems. Like, so how the businesses can set up the monitoring process also, so they can understand the cost of bad data and how it is going to impact it.
That's a very good question, which I believe that it's quite challenging. And you know why it's challenging? It's because I don't know much of the businesses that would want to measure the bad data, or like the impact of the bad data.
Are you in favor of measuring or not?
I would say that I'm in favor of monitoring, but not in favor of measuring, simply because it's very hard to do that. And I'm not sure that this will have a good, let's say, return on investment. That's my opinion, because based on the talks with various stakeholders, I don't think that much of the stakeholders would want to invest like their money into measuring that.
Idea should be we should do the monitoring. And if the data is not right, then we need to put some efforts in order to fix it.
Yeah.
This is you want to convey, right?
So I'd say that monitoring is super important. Measuring the impact of the bad data quality, here I would say that it's good to have. It's really nice to have that, but it's challenging to do it, because, like, again, my own opinion, but I think that data is like not really like a new oil, but data is like the air that we are breathing. So it's like everywhere in the business, and finding how much data can impact if it's of a bad quality is very hard, because it's everywhere. It's impacting like marketing, sales, customer support, HR, top managers, everyone. So even if we try to measure, and I still believe that we're still gonna miss some important points.
What do you think, in your opinion, how the business can take the advantage of AI in data?
So data is everywhere, and nowadays AI is also everywhere. So I'm not a fan of saying that AI is like another box to the diagram of the business architecture, or a separate department, because I find that it has changed. AI is not the same as like it was even 5 years ago, which is not a long time ago, but still it has changed. And things that are happening like new in the business. Nowadays, people don't need some developers, for example, to build a report. Nowadays, like we're having what? We have Copilot that you just type in, you give some questions, and it is able to answer the questions. Yes, maybe currently some more complex questions is not able to answer, but still, like the basic ones, it does. With AI, like basically Copilot is using the Gen AI, as we know, and it's influencing also the data because nowadays, like reports, if you have the Copilot add-on, you can do so many things way quicker with AI. Or sometimes you even don't want to open a report. You just type in the question and you get the answer. Or even to do some development for the data. Again, like what you do, you use AI to do that. As many people are calling it like vibe coding, right? Like a new term of 2025. And I know many people are complaining also about the vibe coding because they're saying that it's not of that high quality. But from my experience, I see that it still helps. Like we have like those new terminology called like citizen developers. So people who are not in tech, but they are able actually to do something with tech thanks to AI. Yeah, like those citizen developers, like they can do some things pretty quickly with AI, with the use of vibe coding. Yeah, maybe it's not going to be that complex. Maybe it's not going to be that sustainable, not that scalable, but still, like when it's needed, IT can come in and do the needed support.
It is making the lives easy, I would say. And this is how the AI thing. And I do relate to your example that we can type in and we can understand the report itself by understanding the co-pilot. Okay, please tell me these numbers represent what's the increase, decrease, and give me the highlights of this report, how it is going on. And we can have the scheduled reminders also from that report that AI can do it. So this is the power. Like we don't have to go into this, and we can have an automated system to tell the summaries of those things. So that is really making an impact. Anyways, technology is like this. Only every 5-10 years we have to upskill ourselves. And more new things come into picture, and we have to evolve and change our mindset and adopt the new things. So this is how businesses are growing and taking that.
Yeah, I would say that nowadays you have to upskill yourself like almost on a daily basis because, okay, maybe daily it's kind of too much, but still, if in the past I was thinking that learning is like if you wanna get like somewhere to, let's say, a new level, then you are learning, you're upskilling yourself. But nowadays it's not anymore like a question, should I learn or not? It's something that is like normal that you have to learn because the tools that we're using nowadays, they evolve so quickly. For example, even like few months ago, they had different functionality. Even like Copilot that many businesses are using. If you check what was like few months ago, you'll see that so many functionalities have not been present at that time. For example, with Power BI, Microsoft is launching like every single month the set of updates that it has. And with AI fields, like we can see that they're evolving even like sometimes like on a weekly basis. I'm subscribed like to quite many channels because I'm curious to see like what new is coming in. And I see that sometimes like week by week you can see like really huge differences. So what was valid 1 week ago, sometimes it can be not valid anymore nowadays.
So I do agree with you. This is happening a lot of time. Yes. All right. So, Anna, that was it. Thank you so much for joining in today on Executive Outlook. Your thoughts will be really helpful for us. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Isha, for having me here.
Thank you.
Thank you.